This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Looks like it's 6:01. I should probably start this meeting.
Probably.
Good evening. It's 6:01 on March 24th. This is the Easthampton City Council Public Safety Committee. Let me just pull up the agenda quickly. We're continuing to meet by Zoom, probably not for much longer, due to ongoing order from Governor Baker during the COVID-19 pandemic. I see Councillor Derby here in attendance in the woods, but here nevertheless. Councillor
Sitting
Riley,
by my stream.
Yeah, it's very tranquil. Welcome, Chief Alberti. Councillor Riley notified me that he will not be able to attend tonight. So this meeting is called to order. I'm just keeping my eye on the waiting room. I thought that Councillor Riley sent minutes, but I can't find them. So
I didn't see him.
Okay, so we'll put that off for our next meeting. At this time, if there's members of the public who would like to speak on an item that is not otherwise on the agenda, please raise your hand, preferably using the raise hand feature in Zoom. Seeing that there's two members of the committee and our esteemed guest here, I don't see any hands, so we could get on to our business for the evening, which being the Ordinance Review Committee's final report review and the use of electric speed monitoring signs. Regarding the Ordinance Review report, I still now as chair need to get more up to speed with that, and so if it's okay with you, Councillor Derby, I'll probably put that off till another meeting. I'm still waiting for.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
We did do some work on that in the last term, so I think maybe if we connect with Omar and maybe get those minutes so we can take a look.
Will do. Yeah, I'm trying to coordinate with the prior chair to get up to speed with that. So we'll talk about that next time. So without further ado, then I'll introduce the new item which we have not discussed, which is use of electric speed signs in the city. So as we all know, and I'm sure the chief who's sitting here as our guest today knows, that speeding or the reports thereof are a pretty substantial volume for calls, certainly for city officials and councilors, but I bet for the police department as well. The police department's been proactive with portable signs that they've been using in various areas throughout the city over the last few years. But we had noted that there's other cities that use these in a more permanent manner, and the proposal was put forward to evaluate if more permanent signs throughout the city would be effective, would be worthwhile, and then to go on, if we can make that determination and develop some sort of consensus, move forward then into where those would go, the cost, and then to determine if the city can then afford it and approve it. So I'll start with that. Councillor Derby, do you have any opening comments at all on this topic?
Yeah, actually. So I've been trying to do a mental note of where I've been seeing these signs, and there is a difference with the type of sign as far as its effectiveness. I would say there's signs that basically just show your speed, and then there's signs that will have a set speed within it, and it will tell you to slow down, or thank you for going the speed limit. And one of the ones I wanted to just point out for the chair and the chief, if you haven't had a chance to see it, it's in Haydenville coming towards Leeds, and on River Road, I believe. It goes along the Mill River. And it has, if you are going over the speed limit, has a blue and red flashing thing, and it says, and on the bottom it says slow down, and if you're going the speed limit, it says thank you. And that one seems pretty effective. So and I would concur with the chair, and I think the chief would agreed that he would love to not get emails from all of us, from constituents asking about certain areas where they're speeding. This is obviously an issue. So hoping we can figure that out. So thanks.
So is it my understanding, Counselor, that your input would be you would vote for or you'd lean towards signs that have some sort of feedback component to drivers? Yeah,
I would. I would say meaningful feedback. There's, the one coming down Park Street into Williston is obnoxious. It's like going to trigger a seizure. So not that. let's put that out there. Not that one. Because really, it's a strobe light basically. So yeah. Okay.
No, I agree. And I also would be interested if there's permanent ones out there that have, well, I'm sure there are, that have recording functions similar to the portable ones that we have now, just in order to continue to collect data. So at this time, Chief, I just welcome you to make any comments. I guess just to start off about your feeling about these in general,
Sure.
And some thoughts.
Good evening, counselors. I do have some commentary. What I'll start with is clearly we get speeding complaints all over the city. It's, since I've been a police officer, it's been one of the top issues. It's in the last couple of years, it's gotten a lot worse. So we've essentially we have the two portable speed signs. They're $4,000 a piece. They run on batteries. The batteries don't last very long. That's why we could pretty much put them out there for a week. They're great at collecting data, and the data they produce, I think, is very valuable. Some people, it's quite striking that people aren't going as fast as they think they're going once you collect the data. But that being said, I like Councilor Derby's idea. I'd like some sort of feedback, right? Not the strobe lights, which we've got complaints on actually, but some actual genuine feedback, from the signs. I think that's really cool. Love that idea. My concern about the permanent signs, of course, is it's like any signage. When people drive by it 1,000 times, they don't even realize it's there anymore. What's effective for us is we'll put the speed signs out. We'll collect the data. We'll take the speed signs down, and then we'll do enforcement right where the speed signs were. And that's pretty much the trend. That has been very effective. Councilor Derby will know, just historically, people that want to lower speed limits in their neighborhoods, we put a speed sign out, or if the state comes out and does a speed study, people quickly realize that people are going slower than like the 35. So then they'll be like, oh no, you know what? We're going to actually, the state will say, we're going to raise that to 40. So I always caution everybody about that, because that's been an issue in the past where they're going so fast, we want to lower the speed limit sign, and then they do a study. The next thing you know, the state's saying, no, that's actually got to go up. So I always caution that. And I guess the last thing I'll leave you with is, because speeding and traffic enforcement, crosswalk enforcement, pedestrian enforcement, it's just so overwhelming sometimes. And there's so much of it that is asked for from the police department, on top of our call volume, is really just outrageous these days. I'll say this about the call volume, then I'll go back to my thought. I ran the call volume today from March 24th, 2001 to March 24th, 2002 at 9 a.m. And we're in just that window, we're over 2,000 calls more than we were last year at this time. 2,000 calls. So, traffic is a big issue. And historically, our traffic has been, when we're not going from call to call to call, we'll try to get area cars to do traffic. So what we did is, I think I spoke to this before, we've restructured yet again our department, not adding any bodies, but we were able to restructure in a manner that we have a dedicated traffic car right now. So it's Officer Bill Milkey. So what we're about to do is we're about to push out in our social media platforms and our website an email that you just click on and put a traffic request in. And that email will go directly to Officer Bill Milkey, and he will then prioritize the areas as they come in and just focus on enforcement in those areas. When the shift gets busy, he'll help augment the shift, but his main focus is traffic enforcement, crosswalk enforcement, pedestrian enforcement. So this is going to take a lot of pressure off of the police department, a lot of pressure off of the community who are anxiously awaiting to see an area car, but can't get one because we're just too busy. So the speed limit sign certainly will help. And I'm anxious to see where we're going to put them, how much they're going to cost, if the city can afford all the same things that Councilor Zaret had said prior to. But yeah, we the police department are absolutely on board.
Councilor Derby, any feedback to the chief?
No, I mean, I think that's great. I know that this is, as we look at recent events locally, and as we look at the trends across the country since COVID, I mean, I think we're looking at, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but I think the last time I looked, it was like a 40 or more % uptick in pedestrian accidents for bikes and walkers.
Yep.
A lot of that
yesterday.
Yeah, right. And I think a lot of that stems from probably some distracted driving, people using phones, and so this is not something that's going to leave us. So I think that, finding solutions for this is going to be critical, and also honestly finding ways to mitigate without having to have your officers be out there, because a 2,000 calls is a pretty significant increase. And so we have to be mindful of that as well. So, Councilors, there, I think, one of the things that's not on our agenda, so I'll be careful, but I think that maybe one of the things that we might want to roll into this discussion as we talk about mitigation of speeding is to, bring in Greg and to talk about speed humps. And that type of mitigation, it's something we've talked about in the past. I know our previous DPW director was not a fan, but things have changed, and other communities are using them. So maybe that's something that we look to also to get on the agenda so we can talk about it.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'm happy to talk to you offline about teaming up and submitting that.
Mm-hmm. Great.
So Chief, I have a couple of statements, Chief, and then a kind of a question. I just want to clarify something you said. So as part of this submission, I did a little bit of research. It does look like these signs are effective. I mean, depending on the studies you look at, there is, anywhere from a few to close to 10 miles per hour reduction where these signs are up. And one of the things that I was worried about that someone had mentioned to me was, if you drive by these too much, do you kind of like tune them out? And it looks like, at least from one of these studies, that the majority of people, some people will kind of ignore them over time, but most people will still use these as a kind of a signal if they're going too fast. So that just leads me into I just want to make sure I'm clear that is this something that you think would be worthwhile?
Me, yes, absolutely. Yeah. No,
okay.
And I think, to your point, the percentage of people that do pay attention to versus a percentage that don't, I think speaks for itself. I would also advocate data collection with these signs, which would help us. And the other thing I wanted to mention was we were talking about pedestrian and distracted driving. So although we have Officer Milkey focusing on nothing but traffic enforcement, we are still acquiring grants from the state for the pedestrian, distracted driving, traffic enforcement. So we're, in addition to Officer Milkey, we'll still have those grants to pay overtime to have additional officers out there as well. I just wanted to mention that.
I'm kind of curious with the use of these signs, especially the ones that have feedback, if they have any effect on distracted driving. In other words, if you drive by one of these, lights go off, it tells you to slow down. If that also makes people kind of internally pause to, maybe put down their cell phone. I don't know. I'm just kind of putting that out there. I have to look at I'm going to look at some studies about distracted driving. As one of the points of this agenda item, just identification and discussion around known contributors to speeding within the city, opportunities for public messaging around these factors, and ways to mitigate these factors in order to improve public safety. So I guess we could ask about that really quickly, Chief. Are there places or are there features within the city or there areas within the city where you think that that seem to contribute to people speeding more, or are there times? I'm just kind of curious about your thoughts around that as well.
Well, the main arteries coming in and out of the city obviously are they'd be priority for, I would say, these signs. As far as times, it's commuting, right? Commuter times for the most part. But yeah, no, I agree. I think the arteries and where we get the most complaints are the Park Street, Line Street, Main Streets, Northampton streets, and then some of the side streets that are off of those main arteries. But yeah, I think it would take some data collection from us to really present where we should be putting these permanent signs. And the other thing I was thinking is, so I sent Councilor Jared, I sent you a couple of just copied you in for your committee when we get these complaints in. Do you want me to continue doing that? I think it might be beneficial for you and your committee, to see where the problem areas are, at least the complaints that we're getting.
It's very helpful. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Councilor Derby, any other thoughts right now?
So homework. If you guys are interested and you want to see the sign that I was talking about, because I did a quick online search, I couldn't find a sign that looked like this one, but it's on South Main Street, which turns into River Street, that goes to the center of Leeds from Haydenville. So if you, yeah, it's that little curvy road that goes right to like Chartpack in Leeds.
All right, where it is.
And there's that sign's there. So if you have a chance to drive by it, take a little scenic ride out there. But it is, I like that one, to me, is the most effective one that I've seen. So okay. I think that would be, at least as we start nailing down the areas, I would agree with the chief. I mean, definitely the gateways into the city, right? So if we're on Route 10 coming from Southampton in, that I know, because South Street, which we have on our agenda still, is such a huge deal. And one of the big issues is we're having traffic coming in from Southampton that's traveling probably at least 10 miles over the speed limit, 15 miles over the speed limit into that intersection, which so but I think as we kind of move forward, that's going to be the critical piece, is where, and then we go to the what type is going to be the most effective. And so I think this is a fruitful discussion. I look forward to being able to get these out there, because I think they will help.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Chief, do you think your department will be able to come up with some sort of be able to do some data analysis to look at kind of hot zones for speeding, as well as maybe just anecdotally come up with some suggestions?
Absolutely.
Okay, and I can probably email. So Haydenville, does that fall under Northampton city government?
Williamsburg, I believe.
Williamsburg, yeah. Williamsburg.
Okay, I could probably email. I'll email their DPW maybe, or police, and try to find out. I'll check out the sign and then maybe email them to find out where they got it.
Yeah,
start there.
Greg, not only helpful there.
Yeah, Greg would probably,
I'll touch base with him too. Yeah, because we're gonna probably want to look at a few different models, and even if we come to a consensus, start talking to vendors and things like that. I mean, we're far away from actually getting these, but start doing some homework. I see one member of the public here, a member of the city councilor, Councilor Gomez. Any comments while we're here? Well, thank you for attending our meeting, Mr. President. Okay, I don't really have anything further. I think we have some homework to do. Certainly the chief with his department. If there's any way that I could be a resource there, let me know. And Councilor Derby, thanks for pointing that sign out. Kind of keep my eye out for other similar ones. Our next meeting is, we already set that. It's that first Tuesday in was that April?
April.
I'm talking to. We should be talking with the DPW. I'm just conferring with them just to make sure that that date's going to work still. I did at the least at that meeting, outside of a quarterly report, want to try to get some ahead of time, try to get some firm information about costs around the light at South and Main. So I've requested that of Mr. Nuttleman. But we'll also see if he's open to doing a report like the other departments have done. I know that classically public safety is police and fire, but I do think that DPW plays a significant role as well. Chief, anything else?
No, that's it. I'm good.
Okay, we appreciate you being here. Councilor Derby, anything else?
I mean, I could make a motion to adjourn.
I'll accept that. Councilor Gomez, are you here filling in for Councilor Riley?
Yes, but the only way that I'll vote is you disagree with Salem, so I have to break that tie.
Okay, but well, because I do have a motion to adjourn. Are you willing to second that?
I can second it. Yeah.
Okay, well, so we have a motion from Councilor Derby and a second from Councilor Gomez sitting in for Councilor Riley. I'll take a roll call vote. Councilor Derby?
Yes.
Councilor Gomez?
Yes.
I'm also an aye. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome.
We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. See you next time. Take care.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.